Hello, friends. So, I wanted to give a book review on Camilla's Roses, and I give this book a 5 out of 5, and here's why. So, I am Camille Claiborne, your favorite book club moderator. I'm going to do a book review on Camilla's Roses by Bernice McFadden. So, she is also the author of one of my top favorite books, Sugar. So here's a few Camille things, right? I typically do not read a bunch of books from one series, and I don't like read a bunch of books by one author just because I feel like there's so many books out there. I never want to get pigeonholed into reading a particular author. So typically, I don't do that. I will say Bernice McFadden is my exception because when I read Sugar, and granted, I read Sugar for a book club that I was in, I immediately read the sequel to Sugar. And after that, I always wanted to read another book by Bernice McFadden. And then I came across Camilla's Roses. And I guess because the name was so similar to Camille, I had to read this book. Side note is I don't always feel like a true book girly because I have never read a book in one sitting. Like I always hear people say, "Oh, that book was so good, I read it in one day," or I've never done that. I've always read books over a course of a day or two, three, four, five, but never in one sitting. Because I think for me, I have to process what I'm reading. I have to just like think about it. And a lot of times if you read something good, it makes you think about something else, or at least in my case. So I can never just read a book like just straight through. I've never done it. But I will say this, I came very close to reading this book in one sitting. I read it in 2 days. So, and I've never read a book that quickly. I'm just going to be honest with you. So, listen, Bernice McFadden is taking me out of my character, okay? Here, there, and everywhere. I really enjoy Camilla's Roses for the realness of the story. Like, it just seems like this could really happen. And I think the authenticity of her characters. And one thing I can appreciate about her, about I guess Bernice McFadden, is that her characters all have a purpose. Like sometimes I feel like you read a story and they give you all this information on this character and this background, and then you never see them again. It's just like, well, why did I need to know about that if they weren't that wasn't exactly contributing to the story or the main character. But I feel like all her characters sort of help the story along, even if it's in a small way. One of the major themes in Camilla's Roses is family. And I think also tradition, but definitely family and this whole family dynamic. Because I feel like you can get married and have a husband or and sometimes those relationships end, but it's like the love between a parent and a child, a niece and an aunt, or even a cousin, that sort of love like endures, right? Like I think you're more willing to sometimes forgive your family member or work things out with them, not more than a partner, but it's a different kind of I'll continue to work on this with you than maybe someone that's not your family member. Like maybe with a friend you're like I'm done, but when it's your family, there's it's this idea of like loving somebody in spite of what they have done. And I think you see that time and time again throughout this story. So yeah, I really did like this story. I will say what I thought about when I was reading this story is like how sometimes, people become successful or they, get college degrees and somehow they feel like they're like, I guess like better, not better, but they feel like they no longer fit into their family. And I think in this story we see that like no matter what, you're still a member of your family. No matter how successful you are, you're still a member of this family. So if you have the time, check out Camilla's Roses by Bernice McFadden. It's a I think you can't help but read this story and think about your own family, and and maybe even some of your own life choices that you have made, and it just I think forces you to reflect on your life and your choices. Happy reading, friends!